Connect.
So did you go?
Smart.
All right. I now call to order the regular council meeting of February 14th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Opening prayer, Daryl.
Please rise. In prayer, let me stand for the pledge of allegiance. I apologize. I'm going to read this prayer to you. It is not mine, but it is one of my favorites for people who hold public office and those who attend our meetings. It was authored by Harry Truman. Almighty and everlasting God, creator of heaven and earth and the universe, help me to be, to think, to act what is right, because it is right. Make me truthful, honest, and honorable in all things. Make me intellectually honest for the sake of right and honor, and without the thought of reward to me. Give me the ability to be charitable, forgiving, and patient with my fellow men. Help me to understand their motives and their shortcomings, even as thou understandest mine. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Ben, would you please call the roll?
Member McLeister.
Here.
Member Wyrick.
Here.
Member Warren.
Here.
Member Shroya.
Here.
Member Member Revolt.
Here.
Member Matheny.
Here.
And Member Orr.
Here.
7 present.
All right, can we have a motion and a second to approve as presented minutes from January 31st, 2022?
So
And the January 2022 financial report?
Still moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, recognition of the public. At this time, members of the public wishing to address City Council may do so. Each speaker will be granted 5 minutes. Please begin by starting with your name and address for the record. As a reminder, the rules are on the screen and violation is grounds for termination of your speaking privileges.
Good evening. My name is Kira Redinger. I'm a resident at 1610 Armsby Circle Northwest in the North Canton community. My husband and I moved into this community approximately 9 years ago and now have 2 young daughters that we hope will grow up in this community. There were several factors that brought us to this community, some of them being the convenience of close amenities like restaurants, stores, and recreation, and of course, the good reputation of the school district. First, I would like to thank the council members I have already spoken to regarding what I'm speaking about today, Jamie and Daryl. I really appreciate your candor and willingness to listen and look forward to having further conversations with the rest of the council members. I'm here tonight to discuss my concerns regarding ordinance number 18-2022. As you are all aware, this was passed during an emergency meeting of council to purchase a 10-acre property on Orion Street in Ward 1. In the ordinance, it was indicated the property would be used as a park and retention basin. The ordinance was passed without the community meetings that typically happen, which allowed for community feedback. During the meeting held on the 24th of January, it was indicated that the city needed to purchase this property now in case it was no longer available. However, it was hard to imagine that a property that has been sitting there for 20 plus years, which has mines under it and therefore is difficult to develop, would suddenly become such a desired property that you could not follow the normal process, especially considering the amount we paid, which seems high considering the state of the property. Therefore, I find the acquisition of the property to be starting off on a less than transparent footing with community residents. Additionally, during the meeting on the 24th, someone appeared to speak on behalf of the residents of the neighborhood that is adjacent to the property. They indicated that they took a little stroll and talked to some residents who all seemed amenable to a park in the area. Unfortunately, I did not get to speak to them, nor did any of the neighbors that I reached out to who currently live in this neighborhood. So I am here today to provide feedback as a resident that currently lives in that neighborhood. My concerns are to the fact that most mentions to this property reference it being used as a dog park specifically. Some saying because it's easy. If the intent is to make a legacy in our community, it shouldn't be easy. It should be thoughtful. I have a suspicion that if you asked a resident would you like to live directly adjacent to a dog park, even the dog lovers would say no. Now, if you ask them, would you like to live directly adjacent to a park? The answer might be very different. I have already read 2 articles on the repository that really reference the property being utilized as a dog park. The articles and those being quoted in the articles reference a recent community survey that was completed as a reason for this. However, when I reviewed the survey, a dog park was the 5th most selected amenity and appeared to be almost in the same as the 6th and 7th amenities. Before the dog park is indicating that we have amenities in the community, followed by walking paths, 2, splashes, 3, gardens, 4, and benches, 6, and water features 7 were very close behind the dog park. I recently read through your community master plan, and I see throughout it your major objective is attracting families to the area. As a representative of that population, I can tell you that putting a dog park in such proximity to a residential area would likely not serve that purpose. A brief survey of families that I know, both dog and dog owners, all most strongly indicated that they would not want to be adjacent to a dog park. Additionally, there are already several dog parks in the surrounding community. With Front, Fulton, Buck Park, Veterans Park, most of which are less than 5 miles from where we meet today. And you will find that almost all of these dog parks are not fitted up against a residential setting. They park with walking paths, benches, and water features in the wooded areas where dog parks so close to residential housing is so much different. I can only hope that as the city determines how they are going to utilize this property, that they don't have any pre-planned agendas and that they listen to their constituents they represent, particularly the residents in the neighborhood most impacted by the use of this property, rather than just giving us lip service. Due to the nature of the purchase of the property and the consistent mention of a dog park, it feels as though you already have it. And I genuinely hope that that is not the case and that you're going to take our feedback seriously and not assume you know what the residents in this area want. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to hopefully having an opportunity to participate in the planning process of the development of the property as a resident of this community and specifically this neighborhood. Again, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else willing? Anyone else wanting to address council?
Would you like a dog park in your backyard? It's 6 to 8
If
feet
this isn't
off
this is not an exchange. If you would like to speak, you can speak at the podium.
That piece of property has already been
Please start
addressed.
by your name and address.
Judy, Sarah, 1618 Arnsby.
Thank you.
Back in around 2000, we had to stump for signatures and get on the ballot to stop Caplia from building an allotment back there because there are mines that are not mapped. Nobody knows where they are. The adjoining neighborhood had sinkholes, major sinkholes. We had issues with our home from any work doing done up when Drug Mart and all that was built. And it's a major concern. We pay extra mining insurance on our home. Nobody knows what's going on back there. And if you try to bring heavy equipment back there and put in sidewalks and dig out trees and stuff or whatever, we don't know what's gonna happen to our property. And the whole corner, if you look at it, there's a lot of people that their yards would be affected by this area. We have a beautiful green space now. We have deer, all kinds of wildlife, the birds. It's just beautiful. And Mr. Caplia, I can't believe that he's got a white elephant back there and he can't offload it. And once you buy it, that's a lot of money for the city that's not gonna make any revenue for us at all. And it's just gonna line his pockets and tick off a bunch of people. And I know Kira's my neighbor. They just did a total restoration. It's just so beautiful. And I would hate to see them leave. And I would actually move too, because I don't mind the dog park in my backyard. And plus the park, then there'd just be kids back there partying and drinking and stuff all night, and it would just be a mess. And we'd have to build a fence, and I just.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address council? Moving on to special presentations. Bill?
at a perfect time.
First off, I want to thank council and administration for allowing me to give you an update on almost a year plan coming together. I also want to especially thank the mayor for having trust and confidence in me to lead this group. All of you have had a advanced copy. That is the final copy. But one thing I wanted to point out is the last page, which is called the acknowledgements. If you look at it, one of the things that I wanted to do was to have a steering committee that would represent a broad brush of people in our community. And as a matter of fact, there are two members, one, President Stroya, and there's Catherine, there were two representing administration. But we had the steering committee, and the whole purpose of the steering committee was to keep us on focus. I think they did a pretty good job, even though we had some tough times because of COVID, and we even had a tornado threat one night when we were having a meeting, so that didn't help things either. The other thing that was a request of some council members was that they wanted to see who the consultant interviewed on one-on-one. And so we listed the names of the people that you can see the stakeholder interviews. Mrs. Schwartz, who was our consultant with her team from the Cleveland Urban Design Collaborative, Kent State. You can see the names of those people too. And of course, again, there's a broad type of people that we wanted to make sure that we get good input for the plan. I also would be remiss if I didn't thank the city for funding a portion of it, and also the Hoover Foundation. They always seem to be behind us with everything we do in North Canton. So with that, what I thought I'd do is basically, I'm not going to go through because you've all received it, but I want to make some comments about the 5 major categories of recommendations. And I want to talk about them briefly, and I want to give you some thoughts and ideas about things that are important to remember as you go through this 60-plus page document. There's going to be some words that I'm going to use that I hope that you will write it down and remember, because once I'm done tonight, the mayor and I are going to be going on the road show to talk to people about this plan, to various groups, to Rotary. We'll probably get the Kiwanis to come to a Rotary meeting. I talked to Ms. Burrick about also putting the plan on the Chamber's website. But it's so important to make sure that this document is out to everybody. Because the one thing, if you remember back in July, I mentioned this is not my plan. This is not the people's plan that you see in the back. This is our city's plan. We had residents, even though we didn't have as many as we wanted. We even had people running for council that showed up to get their input before they were elected. So they got a shot of their input. But I want to make sure that you understand that when you look at the report, and this is one of the words I want you to write down, read it in its totality. Don't just pick out one thing and say, that'll come. There is something that we want to look at. Because if you notice in the plan, one of the most important factors is that we actually have in it a suggested time frame of implementation. So short-term projects, medium-range projects, and long-range projects. Now, that came from the urban planners. I wasn't part of that, nor with anybody else saying, oh, no, we should do this first. This is based upon their experience of working with other cities. So I think, please read the entire document and just don't pull out pieces and parts and say, no, that's not going to be. So let me talk about the 5 main recommendations. Cultivate a business-friendly community. It is so important from what we heard, and unfortunately I have to say this about previous administration, that they left a bad taste in people's minds about us being business-friendly. And I know that the council and I know administration has done a really good job with making sure that, from zoning to getting permits, I think that we've started to turn that around, but you still have some people out there that think that we're not business friendly. So those of you that have contact with businesses that are wanting to come in, or even obviously our citizens, make sure that your people are business friendly. Now, I know that sounds kind of silly to even say that, but it is all of us sitting around here and the people that report to you that have the image of the city. And the image can be ruined by one person not being friendly. The second thing that's part of this plan of business friendly is one of the things that I have to give you kudos to, and the urban planners give you kudos to. And it's land bank. You are controlling your destiny. You are doing it, and this is the key word. You are doing it with purpose. Just don't buy land and say, gee, we're just going to sit on it for 20 years and we'll see if we can make money off of it. When you need a land bank, you have to have a purpose. So that is one important thing that I think we wanted to emphasize in this, that continue to do that, but continue to do it with a purpose. The second major recommendation is build a vibrant downtown core. Oh boy. Oh boy. We heard all about the Hoover District. The mayor, we know, has done his part. I give kudos to Daryl Revolt for that wonderful PowerPoint presentation that he did about what the city has done for the Hoover District owners and developers. So we've done our part. Now I think we're back at square one. So we still need to figure out, how do we get that going? What do we need to do in order to improve the Hoover District? The strategy that you're going to do is something that you have to seriously think about. I'm not quite sure we can give you exactly what to do, because it is unique. But it is part of the major thing. If we're going to get the downtown core developed, we need to improve it. The other thing which we brought up was walkability. When I did this plan back in 2012, working with the same urban planners, I think I mentioned this at the July meeting. The first thing that they told me, they drove from Orion all the way down to the bridge. And the first two things that they told me was, you are a backdoor commercial district. You have very few people that are walking on your sidewalks on Main Street because everybody parks in the back. So one of the things that will probably be very controversial, and I know it's one that already one person has told me, there's no way you're going to have on-street parking. You have it in front of City Hall. Yes, City Hall is set back. You have that little bump out, bump in, whatever, which way you want to look at it, so that people can drop off. But you also did it on, you have on-street parking. It's Maple, just a few spots. Second part of it. With purpose. You only have on-street parking. We put some examples of it. If you have an area that needs to have parking on street. So you see how some of these strategies kind of fit together. Parking strategy is something that you need to consider. The downtown housing is another area. We gave you a drawing, a rendering. Most of you know Dan Tullius. He's probably the most creative guy I've ever met. I sat down with Dan and said, take the fire department, the fire building that's on Main Street, and make it into a restaurant. Because eventually, we'll post office. Nobody did it. You took a functional building, architecturally, you can make it look pretty good. And that's what Dan did for that downtown area. It's just an idea, so far. Linking the university district to downtown. Now, this is going to take money. That's another word that you can put down on the calculator. To extend what you did from Mark Park all the way up to downtown. But here it is, with a purpose. Why would you want to do that? Unless the kids from Walsh University would want to have some place to go to in downtown. Right now, they've only got one restaurant. Hopefully, if we can get the Hoover District, then we may consider about having widening, just like you did, up to Marquardt, and then have the Oriental plate. But you're not going to do that unless you have something where the kids can go. There's even a thing about renting bikes in here. Well, that's kind of a silly thing unless you have some place where the kids can go. And it works in other cities. So the university district, I will tell you that urban planners said to me, the most important asset you have in North Canton is called Walsh University. Use it. Look what they're doing at Walsh. If you notice, if you know Dr. Greenwell, he was part of my group and he also was interviewed. We wanted to make sure that we knew what Walsh was going to do for the future. That's part of the plan. But you've got to look at, and I know all of you do, but I'm going to emphasize it, the importance of having a university right in your city. And by the way, and my wife reminded me because she wrote it on the back. She said, don't forget, because I came home one night after talking to Dr. Greenman. You know where the kids are going now? They're going to Oakwood Square. I guess they got sick and tired of winking lizard. And I don't even know if you can sit down in the Starbucks. So last time I was in, they said no. So they got to have a place to go. Again, with a purpose. Strengthening residential neighborhoods. You know, one thing, I was lucky enough to go with the mayor. We drove throughout the city. And it's amazing how, when I looked at the types of housing that we have, and the variety of it, and the different architectural looks. but more importantly, the neighborhoods that they're in. And we've got some suggestions in here about making sure people know where Pill Hill is. Does anybody know where Pill Hill is? Yeah, of course. Yeah, Daryl knows. But, you know, there's things that we can do that would make it more attractive, even with, as easy as signage. To say, by the way, this is a historical area. And so it would be kind of nice to do that. You know, when we talk about residential neighborhoods, you've got a couple of renderings in here. I debated whether or not we should put that rendering in because it's on a plot of land that is going to be maybe available down in the future. If you take the middle school, which will eventually come down, and you've got that island of land, if you look at that rendering, which is almost like villas, if you go down to some of these areas, cities that have done this, they basically have taken to attract young people. Because look at the piece of property, look at the surroundings. You got the community garden, you got the ball diamond, you got the tennis courts, you got a pavilion, you got. And so you've got things in place. And and by the way, it would also be attractive to people that are retiring too. Because the common area is all being. Last one. And this one, I will beg with you. There's money available for broadband. If you want the city to attract businesses, the businesses that you want are the entrepreneurs, the kids that are coming out of Walsh and other areas, schools. They all need high-speed broadband. Government has money now. American Rescue. There's money that's available. There's a way that we can tap into it in order to get this being in part of our 6.4 square miles. They make us more competitive. Gone through the 5. A lot of detail in it. Now, I mentioned 2 words. Totality, money. You need to compete. Don't be outdone. Myers is going to be an absolute diamond. That park, even though they left, that park is going to be something for Ward 1. It's not going to be all dog. It's 10 acres, man.
Yes, 10 points.
10 acres. You think we're going to have a 10-acre dog park? You don't think that we're going to have it so it's segregated away from the park? Please, 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 don't listen to naysayers. Do what's right for these people in this community. You have to compete. Now, here's the beauty. The schools are doing. They already recognize that they have to compete. I would say schools in Stark County are number 1. Okay. Number 1, Jackson Township. Because that's what people are looking at. And so the schools already know. So continue to work with the schools because that's another asset beside Wall. Nothing is impossible. If you look in this plan and you go, what are you talking about? This has been done in other cities. Is it right for us? Maybe not. Maybe it's a couple years down the road. But it can be done. I think the plan is dynamic. It's not earth-shaking. It's basically, it builds upon itself. And the one thing that's going to happen, this paper will change. It will change over time as your priorities change. It will change because of things that will happen in this community. The opportunities that will open up. You know, hopefully, again, you can get certain things moving. But I will tell you, this is not just from me. This is from the urban planners. I mentioned this when I had the last address too. They said to us, you don't have to spend the time with things that are broken. City services. We got great police chief, building, finance. When they saw your finances that you had with the public review, I thought that was incredible. So you've got things that you don't have to concentrate. Yes, you can fine tune. But you have to go through strategy. Just like, you know, part of the word one, so we have. So the timelines are in there, they're just suggestions. The action plans are in there, they're just suggestions. All of these things in here are just a guide to you. You may not do some of them, that's okay. But I will tell you, and I hope that you do this, that I hope that you come out of the box feeling doable as soon as you can to citizens. This is what I'm going to ask you to do. Now we'll wrap it up. I'm asking you for a resolution by both council and administration that every year, 3 months before you finalize the budget, then you will review this plan, basically put money aside for some projects that you believe you're going to be doing in the next budget year. You must do it. Because you can also alter the plan, add to the plan, do whatever you want to make it fun. It's dynamic. It's not a static plan. I know I've worked in planning for quite a few years at my prior employer. And I can tell you that he changed it all the time. It's really crazy. A year from now, it was in the contract. Terry Schwartz, Teresa Schwartz, who was the director of the urban planning group, will come back to review. Already built in, we already paid for it. But she will come back to review the plan with you. And I think that's very important. As I mentioned, the mayor and I will be doing a road show. Make sure that this gets out. I'd ask Ben Young to please, if it's all right with you, President, go ahead. We have it on the website, Mayor, if it's okay with you too. to put this document not as a draft, but as a finalized document, so that the public, I want to send them to Gary so that she can have it on the Chamber's website too. I want everybody to see. If anybody's got any gripes, complaints, pretty big. Right, my guys, make sure it's fair. So my last word to you. It'll be easy. Look at North Canton and say, well, we need to continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bill.
Any questions? I don't know if I can take President Stroyer.
Sure,
tonight.
absolutely.
Anybody have any questions? And by the way, Daryl would like this. It was under budget. It was under budget, Daryl. I think we had a couple of thousand left.
Yeah, thanks for all the hard work.
Thank
One
you.
thing I do want to say publicly, the people who spoke today, I wouldn't call them naysayers. I have a lot of belief in listening to people and stuff. They just need, some more information and stuff. So,
Absolutely. Any other comments or anything? If you need to get a hold of me, if you want to, you have some comments or questions or whatever, Ben has my number, the mayor has my number. If you want me to come back and if you really let it sink in, I'll be more than happy to do that. Soft spot.
I'd like to say something, President Stroyer.
Sure, absolutely.
Bill, thanks again for your presentation, and I want to, it's a sincere thanks to the board that you assembled and the community participants there. And again, I think you presented well. This is a roadmap. It's a playbook. There's a lot of good ideas there, but I felt it was essential that as we look forward, if there's change brings opportunity. And I think we have opportunities here that we can try to move our city forward and continue moving it forward. But we'll always value what the input is from our citizens. And again, we may agree to disagree on things, but ideas are there. And I want to thank you for presenting challenges to us. And who knows what things will look like in 6 months or a year or in 3 years. But very grateful for the hard work that Terry Schwartz did for us. And it's thanked again by our citizens. Their contribution is very well received myself and hopefully definitely from our city administration and agree with me on that. So
I appreciate
it's a work in progress, folks, but it's hard to believe that it over a year ago, year and a half almost, to bring this to this day. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, President.
Any other questions for you? So moving on to old business. Can I have a motion and a second to read by title only, ordinance 58, 2021?
Revolt moves.
We're in second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
An ordinance amending Chapter 1133, Single Family and Two Family Residential District Regulations, specifically subsection 1133.08E, swimming pools, and Chapter 1707, swimming pools, spas, and hot tubs, specifically subsection 1707.01B, of the codified ordinances of the City of North Canton to lower the minimum required height of fencing for swimming pools to 4 feet.
This is the second reading. I don't think we've had any other questions or comments that have come up from this. We should also note that the Planning Commission recommended the removal of the hedging as an allowable fence material, and for above-ground pools, the height of the pool constitutes the barrier. If there aren't any additional questions or comments, I move the adoption of the second reading of 5821.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, on to 8B. Could I have a motion and a second to read by title only, ordinance 70-2020?
Revolt moves.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance amending various sections of the City of North Canton zoning code and adding thereto new definitions and establishing a new chapter in order to establish a source water protection area and provide for the regulation of substances for the protection of groundwater resources within the source water protection area.
All right, well, this is our third reading of this source water protection plan that we're putting in place. I don't know that, well, actually, I know that nothing has changed since we've last discussed it, and I don't know if there's any other comments. I move that we then move this forward and get it done.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to ordinance 72-2021. Could I have a motion and a second to read by title only 72-2021?
Revolt moves.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance amending Chapter 1136, Main Street Districts Regulations, specifically Section 1136.05, Schedule of Permitted Uses of the codified ordinances of the City of North Canton to change drive-through facilities to a conditional use in the Main Street South zoning district.
As all of us will recall, the Main Street South zoning category did not permit drive-through. We had a situation where we needed to use a property that required a drive-through. I think for those of us who've noodled this, we're still reluctant to allow automatically authorized drive-throughs, but the conditional use will meet this particular property's requirement. And when that use evaporates, with it, the conditional use approval goes away. So this will get that business up and running. This is an example, as Mr. Strominger indicated, of being business friendly.
Absolutely.
And as our Director of Finance would tell us, that our finances in large part are contingent upon these small businesses. And so we're supporting that business as it contributes to our municipal bottom line. That's all I've got. Patrick, anything from your quarter?
Nope.
If not, I'll move we adopt the third reading of 7221.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to ordinance 6-2022. Could I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 6-2022?
Revolt will move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance amending Chapter 1127, Establishment of Districts and Map, specifically Section 1127.01, Establishment of Districts of the codified ordinances of the City of North Canton, in order to remove the chart of districts contained therein.
This is simply, again, a business-friendly cleanup. So we have one location where the requirements or the permitted uses are listed. We don't have two. So in the event that we make a change and somebody misses the chart, we don't have a problem. So again, what I would call a technical correction. Questions? Seeing none, I'll move the adoption.
We actually need to schedule a hearing.
Or you need to schedule Schedule a hearing?
Yeah.
Move we schedule a hearing then, I'm sorry.
So, a motion, can I have a motion and a second to schedule a public hearing for ordinance 6/2022 for Monday, March 21st?
Revolt will move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
21st, do we meet?
March.
Oh, March.
March, yeah, so it'll be a public hearing at 6:45 on March 21st, so just before the regular meeting. And then can I have a motion and a second to postpone ordinance 6/22,
Right.
6-2022 until
Like the-
after the public hearing?
Before the chair votes on that, could I just interject that is, a possibility that these can be done and moved concurrently rather than consecutively? Because till you have the hearing in March 21st, and then we come back with whatever schedule we're going to be on and do follow the regular order, I mean, you're not looking for these changes to go into effect until sometime in May. I know that, previous councils have, given things a first reading, held off on doing the final third reading until the public hearing has been held. But to postpone action on these, and some of these are important, particularly as we get, they're all important, but ordinance, the next one, 07/2022,
Is a big one.
is
If I
critical.
may, the next three do not require public hearings under our zoning code, only this one.
Nonetheless, I still would ask that,
You just want us to keep moving it forward, and then
Okay.
by
Yeah.
the time we have
All right,
the public hearing, it'll be the third reading.
all
So
right.
you'd
Let
like
me,
us to vote and move this forward and
let me, let me recast this
Yeah,
then.
okay.
We've got a motion to read this, which has been moved and seconded.
Yep.
Correct. I'm going to make a motion that we adopt the first reading of this ordinance, 6-22, and schedule the public hearing for the 21st and reserve third and final reading to that,
Well, there's no council meeting, so it'd be
on the
28th.
21st,
Yeah, it would be
the
the
28th?
28th. would be-
All right, then it's the 28th.
a second.
So we're adopting this tonight. We're scheduling the public hearing. We're postponing third and final reading until the 28th.
So
That's the,
question then?
yes.
Are we gonna have a first and second reading before public?
You've got the
Tonight's
first
the
reading
first.
tonight, which we're going to
We're gonna
adopt
have a
that.
second one before.
We're going to have a
the public
second one.
speak.
Yes.
We'll have a second.
And then you ask the
Postpone.
public to speak after our second reading.
After the second reading. It's,
Yeah, I was gonna
I-
say, technically speaking,
I-
they can speak at any time, so.
they can't.
this was held public hearing at the planning commission to boot.
I generally would not prefer this approach, but there are some issues that we need to get resolved. We need to do it timely.
Wait, so at planning, they also had a public hearing already?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're required to as well.
We've got a motion that does all those things. Has there been a second?
I second, Troy seconds.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Motion carries.
Motion carries 5-2. Moving on to ordinance 7-2022. We have a motion and a second to read by title only, ordinance 7-2022.
Revolt moves.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
An ordinance amending Title V Administration of the Planning and Zoning Code of the codified ordinances of the City of North Canton in order to establish more efficient and effective zoning review and amendment processes.
All right. I want to bring your attention to page 91 in your packet, which provides 3 points for this ordinance. I changes therein. The first is that we will no longer require publication, public hearings in the Canton repository. There are two reasons for that. The first is the readership. The second is the high cost. So as you will note, we will have it on our website. It'll be on the bulletin board. And we will also send to all the property owners within 200 feet first-class letter advising them of the matter before the city. Personal contact. The second matter here is that, and you'll note on page 92, is that the processes for appeals and variances have been before the Zoning Board of Appeals has been separated in their own chapters. We would remind everyone that those have the potential for litigation, and I think this was probably a good move to clarify the process. And then thirdly, and this is the biggest issue, in my view, to make us more business friendly. If an applicant meets the requirements in the zoning code and the administration and its staff sign off, that project can proceed without going to the planning commission. What does that mean? That means for big projects or little projects that are time sensitive, months will not be lost in the process. That's a big deal. When you're looking at a construction calendar, we've had situations in the past where the planning commission unfortunately could not meet. You know, want a quorum. Yep. It's a problem. So again, we're not stretching anything. We're simply saying if you meet Patrick and Director of Administration and our building team concludes that it meets the requirements, the project can proceed. Now, there are some safeguards in there, of course. I won't enumerate them, but they are occupancy permits, etc. So this is not a carte blanche, if you will. Patrick, did I summarize that?
Yeah, and I would just augment by saying it's not just, the Director of Administration, the Director of Permits, it's the Fire Department,
Thank you.
We bring everybody in, the Police Department, the Storm Department, the Sewer Department, and everything has to meet everybody's requirements. And what we're saying is that what would there be left to do at the Planning Commission? It meets all of the things. There's nothing to approve. They meet everything already. Granted, those may be rare, but it's an inducement, an encouragement to the developer or the architect, or whatever, to get it to that point because they can save time. Not everybody does, and some are just going to have to go to the Planning Commission because they want to do it their way. We recognize that. But
this is that part about being business friendly.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Other questions or comments?
I like the idea that if they've gone through everything at City Hall, from Mr. Van Gundy, who's not here tonight, previous project, and all the requirements that they need. But like you said, there's no need to go to the planning commission, and there's no variance to the zoning, nothing that needs to go through. This is moving projects faster, which is a good thing.
Now, let me just offer this comment to Dave's observation and Patrick's. This works when you have a management team in place. That's why, top down, on the administrative side, it's imperative that we have competent staff in place to make these judgments. Okay. Anything else?
I just want to say I'm very much in favor of streamlining. This is what that does, so.
Well, a big project, this really simplifies it. So, okay, we've got,
And
Yeah.
the planning commission added the deal about notification to residents in the area,
it's 200 feet.
200 feet from the property line.
Property line, yeah,
Right, but it was also those that are adjacent,
contiguous.
yeah, or one street away.
Yep.
So it could actually, in fact, be more than 200 feet if they're across the street from a very large property.
Right.
So during the planning commission meeting, they discussed that. If somebody's property that's adjacent to the development area is 200 feet deep, then you don't notify anybody else. But if it's the neighbor right across the street, at 201 feet, then they get notified. So I thought that was good for the planning commission to address.
Good catch on their part. Okay. Everybody's comfortable in the comfort zone?
Yep.
We
I have a
Then
couple motions to propose.
two motions
Okay,
to
go
amend.
ahead.
Okay, can I have a motion and a second to amend ordinance 7-2022 to include the technical corrections provided by legal counsel as shown in the draft in the council's packet?
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
As a quick note on that, there are one or two comments. Marty is still going back and forth with legal on, so there may be more things.
And can I have a motion and a second to adopt the first reading of ordinance 7-2022 as amended?
Revolt moves.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 8-2022. Can I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 8-2021?
Revolt 20,
Second, it should be 2022. My fault.
yes, revolt moves.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
An ordinance amending Chapter 145, Planning Commission of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Canton.
Okay, you have this in your packet. You will notice that it is relatively simple. I really don't have anything to add.
Planning commission basically running by the same rules as city council.
Correct. Clarifies the rules of operation.
Okay.
Who disagrees with that? No one. Well, we'll find out.
So are they doing the 5 minutes public speaks and everything like that too, or no?
No,
Okay.
these just set up their general guidelines
Okay.
for their operation,
Okay.
meetings, et cetera.
Yeah.
Quorum. Well, if anything else? Either end? Nope. I'll make a motion, we adopt the first reading of 8-22.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 9-2022. Second to read by title only, ordinance 9-2022.
Revolt will move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
An ordinance amending Chapter 147, Zoning and Building Standards Board of Appeals of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Canton.
Again, simply setting out the general rules of operation for that body. Your comments? Seeing none, then I'll move the adoption of first reading of ordinance 9-22.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to new business. Can I have a motion and a second to amend ordinance 21?
Read first.
Pardon me?
Let's read it
Read.
first.
Oh, read, sorry, okay. Yep. Motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 21-2022.
Revolt will move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance authorizing the appropriation of funds of the city of North Canton to be appropriated for current expenses during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2022.
Are you amending?
Do you want me to amend now, or do you want me to wait till we? Okay. Can I have a motion and a second to amend ordinance 21-2022 to include an additional $12,000 for?
We'll move that amendment.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, so we talked about the one regarding the law department last week. I'm just looking into a matter that we have in personnel, and then the other one is we need to order a new truck. Correct, Gina? And it was a little bit more expensive, but we want to get this done immediately because we're, 200 days? Is that what you said, out?
Correct. When we built the budget last year, we had a quote from the company in October. It's a little bit higher for the vehicle now, so we need an additional $12,000, and that puts us on the list for 200 days.
So we want to get that done now.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions on this? Okay, I move to adopt.
Both seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council regarding 3 readings?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion and a second to adopt ordinance 21-2022 under suspension of the rules.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to 9B. Can I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 22-2022?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
An ordinance amending the boundaries of the wards of the city of North Canton pursuant to Article 2.02 of the Charter of the City of North Canton and laws of the state of Ohio.
This being the first reading, covered it, committee of the whole. Our wards now, every 10 years, we have to take a look at this, following the census. Right now, Ward 1 has 3,789 residents with 2,566. Ward 3, 4,430, and Ward 4, 4,057. If you look at page 143, we extended wards. None of our, I think all the current council people live in those wards, who live in the wards that were elected at. You'll see the population is within 2% of each other. It has very little, the wards are being just generally increased a little bit, but they're all pretty equal. So,
Yeah, I'm looking down in Ward 4 there, and I live at the bottom, and it looks like my house is now, I'm now in the cemetery. Is that a reflection of my age? I'm joking.
We're going to talk about that a little later.
Talk about that. Okay. All right.
So,
He's got a motion, I'll second, the vote second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to department reports. Deputy Director of Administration, Catherine.
Thank you, President. I first wanted to start off by sharing, back a few week or so ago, roads were bad and we were all, thanking our street department for doing a great job. And I think there was somebody who said, why do we have to thank them? That is their job. But they do a really great job. And I wanted to just give a little nod to 2 community members that took that a little further. A gentleman by the name of Joseph Montgomery stopped by the street department last Wednesday, and bought lunch just for all the guys in the street department. And just prior to that, and the Monday of that week also, a North Canton moms group put something out on Facebook and just said, hey, do we love our roads or not? Are they not the best in the county? Can, whoever wants to give whatever. So it was kind of led by Michelle Wagler, and she was overwhelmed with the response. Started out with a few dollars, and then it grew and it grew and it grew. So she was able to get Subway. She started with just donuts in the morning, but then with donuts and then Subway and then chips. She went and got Gatorades. She got some candy, got a card. Everybody signed it. And it's not just the street department, it's street, it's sewer, it's water distribution, it's parks and rec, it's all hands on deck, water treatment plant. So everyone that was in a plow truck was invited to come over and take, snacks and drinks and just, that's our great. And there are some people that just say, no. And there's other people that say, I'm really appreciative and go above and beyond like that. The only other thing I have to say is I was just a great conference. I attended with our chair of Parks and Recs, Christina Wyrick, and I went to the Ohio Parks and Recs Association conference in Sandusky. And it was just a great gathering of all the park professionals throughout the state of Ohio. Talked a lot about parks connection and how that relates to economic development, and a lot of City of Columbus park professionals there talking about everything they're doing there, and that whole concept of live, work, play. So you think about it, we want to attract jobs, and that's the work. The housing comes up there because then they want to live, and then there's the play, and that's where parks come in. And it's really, they say that investing in improving the community quality of life, it attracts workers, which attracts employers, which in turn attracts even more investment in jobs. So we learned a lot and attended many, many seminars and new avenues for, writing for grants and funds, and just all the different variety that we can offer out there to everyone in our community. So it was a great seminar workshop. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Director of Administration, Patrick.
No report.
Mayor Water.
Yes, thank you. For the young lady that spoke earlier, believe me, I'm not insensitive to what the development of a park area up there could be. It's open for a lot of possibilities. And what I'm thinking about even more for in the future as we come out of this COVID situation is actually, I think a part that the community has to remember is just the mental health, getting outside, getting recreation, interaction with people. So to secure that property, I think is good for the city. And who knows what the future will bring for us to take maybe some land that couldn't be built on, but still could be developed into something positive. And I think as we go further, 2 years out, hopefully that social interaction, be whatever it might be, will be good for our own mental health, getting outside and getting exercise and things like that. So I appreciate your comments and coming forward and having the opportunity to speak with our council on that. And as we go forward, who knows what we'll have the opportunity to build up there for our community. But thank you very much. And Catherine, again, thanks for your comments about all our employees. And I think it's only right that we thank our employees for what they do. So thank you very much, President Stroy.
All right, thank you. Director of Finance, Gina.
Thank you. I did submit the January report. Thank you for reviewing that. And I just want to bring your attention to a few things. We have amended the report to drop off a few years of history so that we are just now reporting 5 years. Otherwise, the graphs get a little jumbled with different colors and numbers in there. So we still have the history if you need further back than 2017, but, and then we added, of course, the 22 years starting with January. And then I just wanted to touch on the bank reconciliation with our investments. We did have an update with our portfolio advisor, which is pretty well looking to increase rates. Is that exciting? 25 basis points. Hopefully in March, and then maybe every time they meet every other month in the year. So they're projected every time they meet is what the word is. That helps on the investment side. We went from 0.09% interest to 0.12. So well below 1%, but it is increasing. We are seeing that. We're watching that to where we can diversify our portfolio and our maturity duration. But it also affects us on financing on the debt side.
Yeah.
We'll keep that in mind when we're looking at our bands that are coming due in May, and we've already started to
Thank you. City Engineer, Rob.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess I want to talk about some grants, but I can't say anything until they're seconded by other boards and whatnot. So I'll reserve that for another day. So no report.
Does it look good?
Looks very good.
Okay.
Great report. Councilor Clerk.
No report this week.
All right. So moving on to go Ward 1, Jamie.
All right, I don't have a Huge report. I did want to thank Kira for the conversation we had last week. I do thank you for what you shared and echo kind of the mayor's points, so I won't belabor the point. So, but thank you for the conversation and for coming tonight. Also want to thank Daryl and also Patrick for bringing to my attention a resident down the street from me who was having some issues with his sewer, and it feels like the situation was resolved before I even got involved. So I want to thank the speedy action on the part of the administration. And beyond that, I have nothing else to share.
Thank you, Jamie. Let's go with David, or two.
So I've mentioned in the past the importance of the people of the city of North Canton. And one of those things is also promotion from within. It adds to satisfaction with the job and knowing that there's opportunities to advance. We have two that have been within the police department. So Jacob Berry has been promoted to a full-time in the communications center. He was hired part-time at the end of 2021. He's done a fantastic job throughout his training. His calm demeanor, courteous attitude, and ability to quickly handle these calls, gathering proper information, his promotion and easy decision. And he fills a vacancy that was caused by a previous resignation. So, thank you very much for that. They also are excited to announce that former part-time dispatcher Kathy Hippich has been sworn in as a part-time police officer. So Officer Carly Hippich has been a part-time dispatcher while with the department since April of 2020. She's been a dedicated employee, working varying shifts, sometimes all 3 shifts in 1 week during her time with the department. After graduating from Springfield High School, Officer Hippich went on to earn her associate's and arts degree in criminal justice from Stark State College. She just recently graduated from the Akron Police Academy and passed her state test. Officer Hippich returned to North Canton, applied for the position of part-time police officer, and there are no current full-time positions available. So we are happy to reward her with this position, and I'd just like to say congratulations to both Officer Hippich and Dispatcher Berry.
Thank you. Stephanie?
Same with Jamie and the mayor. Thank you for speaking. You spoke really well and hit a lot of good points. And Patrick and I were even talking this week because I think there was some misinformation that was happening. And I get it too. You read the paper. And they had called actually me, and I said, I don't really have anything. We don't know anything at this point. Like, we're just thinking that it might be a really good city investment. But I think that's a really neat thing. And about the city is they do listen to residents. And I think before anything gets going, we would definitely want to involve other people and get different ideas. And the park at Dogwood would be nothing without city involvement. And what Catherine has been able to do with grants and different things and what's accessible to us, we have no idea. But you can't get any grants if you don't own the property. So who knows what that looks like, and who knows what it looks like with the mines underneath or not. I know there's surveys that we can do and different things, but I like that the community is involved in that. And just, you know, you had some thoughts. I love that you looked at the report. You weren't just up there just like saying things. You actually had like really good facts. So thank you for that. And I think what Bill was saying with the report, I don't know, we may not agree with all the report. You know, I wish we had a greater sampling. I think the chamber needs to be involved. I think the library. But just because you weren't involved initially doesn't mean that, like, we can't be involved. That, like he said, it's a dynamic report. We can keep getting more opinions. And I hope we will. I hope we keep including more citizens and different citizens. I would love for Walsh students to get more involved in it. And maybe as a class or the North Canton students. But I think it's going to be very dynamic. And it's going to keep changing. And we will take pieces and parts and then keep amending. So it's kind of like, you know, when you write a letter, or I know in my own work, sometimes, you know, you pen something and then you want someone else to edit it. And when it comes back, you're like, yes, that's what I meant. And I think that that's what this is going to look like again and again and again. So that's it. Thanks.
Or John?
No report.
Jared? Christina?
So I'd just like to thank Catherine for bringing me along to the Ohio Parks and Recreation Association conference last week. We attended sessions, like she said, on all kinds of things, but some of the really interesting ones for me were esports. Apparently there's a lot of money to be made Yeah. in esports.
The Hall of Fame's doing it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good.
Mm.
And
See, maybe that's what that park will be.
That's right. Inclusive splash pads, stakeholder relationships, leadership, and then Kira, interestingly enough, one of the sessions I attended was on smart dog parks. Do these, and there's a way. And so I really want to learn more about that. The person who led that session is brilliant. She travels all over the country and, leads these classes basically for municipalities on how to create a smart dog park. So I'm going to look more into that. But I just, I appreciate, like Stephanie said, everything that you said, well-researched, good points. But also, like Stephanie said, and the mayor and Jamie, we're not sure what this is going to be yet, but I appreciate you speaking up, and I can promise you that what we do will be smart, and we'll definitely talk to the community. And then related to the master plan, I just wanted to say I think there are some really good ideas in that. I did notice that the library was excluded entirely. I did a find in the document, and nowhere, not one mention of the library. So that was concerning to me because the library is already doing a lot of the things that were mentioned in the plan. And the Chamber of Commerce also was not consulted on the plan whatsoever. So for two of those main organizations on Main Street to be entirely excluded just surprised me. So to say that it had broad community participation is a little bit of a stretch. I think that it's a great plan. I think there are great ideas in it, but I think there's work to be done on it before it goes out on the, what did Bill say, the roadshow. I think we've got a little bit of work to do on it, but definitely excited to have a plan and see something moving forward, and very in favor of most of the things in it. But I just think that there were some voices that were not heard. Yes.
Let me offer this as an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Bill asked us to adopt this. Before we adopt, why don't we attach an addendum? Okay? Let's figure out where the library's going,
Chambers.
where the chamber is headed.
Well, and are there any other entities?
Well,
I don't know.
You
Maybe I
know-
know it can keep going and going.
I
We
can-
want to move something.
you know me, I'm loath to be critical.
Yes.
But, the player here that we're all working with is the school. I somehow don't sense that it has any understanding of the revenue world in which it operates. I would make the decision. They should be a partner in those. And I sometimes just don't think they're quite in sync with us. I know we communicate with them and that sort of thing, but certainly the library as a player, key player, community institution, the chamber. I look at business retention, expansion calls. I mean, what are we missing out here? We may not be the partner for those activities, but maybe some of those businesses, for example, have a contact or referral. Where does it go? Does anybody collect it? I mean, Patrick's putting a huge day right now. I think that's the chamber's key opportunity for the chamber.
Well, to that point, for those of you who are new, this will be new, but for those who've been here, this won't be, but I mean, the city has had a history of a economic development agreement with the chamber to assist the administration. As you recall, when I came here, I reviewed that contract. Felt that the terms of that were not being met and recommended that we terminate that agreement. We did. We rewrote a new one, I did, and put that into place and felt that at that time, the chamber didn't meet that objective, and we ended that agreement. So that was like a year and a half ago that expired, and we've been working without. Since that time, this guy over here has been a real taskmaster with economic development and trying to get things going, and I support that and enjoy in that regard tremendously. But we need some assistance again. So I've constructed, drafted a new agreement with the chamber that fits the needs today of that, and have put together the relative benchmarks. And we executed that agreement this past week. So this was an amount that was for $20,000. It was budgeted. It did not require council approval. So we moved forward with that. I was going to save that to announce that next time, but since I think part of this is that this is part of the council's indulgence, is that I would like to see the chamber representative, the president of the chamber, on regular meeting nights where we do these reports like this, that they be included to give their report
Love that.
every time. I'd love to meet like
Yeah.
that.
Absolutely. Well, again, Patrick, I think you've done what I felt over my career in economic development. The local chambers are really in many ways the drivers of your economic development. And, but to come back to the matter at hand, we've been asked to approve this plan. Before we do that, can we come up with some form of addendum that speaks to both the chamber, its functions, its vision, all right, and the library? Where does it want to go? For example, we tried to launch Bitzer Park. We wanted a small venue. Communities everywhere are building these venues. We don't have one. Library would benefit from it. People would benefit. Community would benefit. Let's sketch some of this stuff out and make it part of the master plan.
Well, could they take the certain 5 aspects and then maybe add certain bullets to each area? I mean, like you said, the library's already doing different things, the chamber, and whether it's economic development or wherever it fits, and just kind of add to that and maybe go over that with Bill?
I'm not a slave to any format.
Yeah.
I just think the point is this: we've got 2 key players. We need to make sure their vision is.
Yeah, I'd like to see it included, only not as an addendum, because I don't feel like you're an addendum.
Agree.
I feel like you're a part of it.
Yep. I mean, I've highlighted through here where
You could
the
fit.
chamber's doing this, the library's already doing this. Like,
Yeah.
why are we not mentioned? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Well, it is a draft. It can be rewritten. There's some typos in there already, so.
Sure.
We can change it.
Dynamic.
I don't
We
want
have-
to stall it. I don't want it to die. I
Can we
just-
rewrite the rest of this document? Do we have the ability?
I have the
Yeah, okay.
I don't think it's
There you go. He can do it. So let's just work on it. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Patrick?
Yeah, and I think the point of clarification is that it sounds like council will move at some point towards adopting a plan,
Yeah.
okay? And we certainly want to make sure that process continues to move forward and that we reach that with some definition. But, the administration would like to, on behalf of myself, my team, consult with council before adoption of the plan. So we have an understanding of policy, process, people, pay for it.
Yep.
And as long as, a lot of these things that will be done, I won't be here.
Yeah.
Someone else may be here. You may not be here. Someone else may be here, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to administration to repeat some things that previous councils have done, administrations, saying something nice and fluffy and full of rainbows and unicorns and all that, and then there is absolutely very difficult to implement. So we have to have a very good understanding of what that means.
Well, Ben and I had a sort of preliminary conversation today about how we might do that.
Well,
So,
from the conversation here tonight, what I might recommend is council use its powers and its rules right now to make an ad hoc committee and put a member of administration, someone from council, or someone from the chamber, someone from the library, and someone council chooses, 4-person committee to make these amendments and bring them back.
chambers in, council in, library, correct?
Yep.
Administration? Ben? Anybody else want to raise their hand? Okay, there's 4.
Okay.
Not interested in shutting anyone out. Can say that, like, that doesn't work, so. What? No, I'm just saying if anyone else wants to be part of that.
Okay, that's, okay, so the way, Mayor?
Finish up and I'd just like to make a comment.
Okay, way forward then is, per the clerk's recommendation, small ad hoc committee.
So I think we need a motion to create that committee.
I will make a motion that we create an ad hoc committee to consider additional language for the proposed master plan with an emphasis upon the library and the chamber. The committee will consist of a representative of the administration, council, / library, / clerk. That's the motion. Is there a second?
Troy, seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mayor, would you like to?
No, I was just gonna add, it's good that the master plan got the juices flowing, okay? And, that people are looking at, there's value to this. And, maybe it was an oversight, I don't know, for the chamber or the library, not to be mentioned. Maybe part of that was if it's not broken, it doesn't need to be fixed. The library is a valuable asset of the community. But I want you to know that in my conversations with representatives from IRG in the West Factory, there isn't a conversation that doesn't go by from me. But I talk about the synergy that is in the core of our city. And that is the library. That is the YMCA. That is Bitzer Park. That involves the chamber. It may not be in print, but in my discussions, this gentleman will back me up. My last conversation with the architects were over there in the West Factory, preservationists. The synergy that we're trying to create here, along with the schools, North Canton City Schools. Every time I talk about our downtown core, the amenities that we have available for anybody, if that ever comes to fruition across the street with quality apartment living or downtown living, always included. And then we walk up to Dogwood Park. And we have a trail going through the city, kind of something with Stark Park. So energy that we're trying to create and plant in young people that we're dealing with across the street. You make a very good point. I think what you're doing would add to the to the road. To the place. When we came into office, I didn't see one. But I thought if we're going to go forward, we needed something, some kind of a plan to go for. And then you can take it any direction you want. That's going to be a benefit to our community and to make us better and stronger. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Christine, do you have anything else? My turn. Let me weigh in. I think, taking from what Bill said on this, that it is dynamic. It's not a plan set in stone. So that we're able to come and kind of speak out of the box right now and, you weighed your opinion in, and we've already agreed that, you know, the library, the chamber needs to be representative. I think that only adds to the plan. I think that's great, actually. So, let me comment briefly on the park, and I want to reiterate, it is a blank slate. We've not said that this is, you know, we did have public feedback where a dog park is wanted, but it's not just going to be a dog park. And, you know, to be quite frank, we don't know, honestly, if this land is buildable or not. We've had no ultimate studies, but from some of the land that has been developed, it potentially could be, who knows? But then to put a dollar amount, this is what is driving me crazy. I appreciate everybody's opinions on the valuation of the property. It's frustrating to me when people say that the value of the property is not, it's underestimated. It frustrates me a lot when people make comments on that. Let's leave that to the professionals. And I think that we've had a very professional team weigh in on that property. And if you look at the availability of that property in another section of town, where are we going to find 10.7 acres for an equal value? We're not. It is not scalable. It doesn't exist. So let's put that to rest and stop talking about valuation. Sorry to get sensitive about it, but it really grinds my gears. I think that's about it. I wanted to say I really like the tone and the theme of being business friendly, because I think that we are doing that more and more with the Main Street corridor, with the zoning. We are becoming more and more business friendly. And I think that's it. Buy and support local.
Do you need a motion to adjourn?
No, I need a meetings calendar note here. So February 21st, 2022 is President's Day. We will have no meeting. February 28th, we will have a regular City Council meeting. And any other comments on the meetings or anything like that? I will have a motion to adjourn.
Now you'll take it.
Will.
And I'll make it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Fine. So why is it?